We have been in this quiet place before, saying farewell to our beloved co-workers who are also our family, hoping and praying that we would never have to return to this place for the same reason. Yet we find ourselves here again to talk about a man who was a police officer, firefighter, and a diver, father, brother, friend, leader, and rescuer, firefighter Juan Bucio. Juan was raised in Chicago's Pilsen neighborhood and was the second youngest of 9 children. Even as a little boy, everyone knew he was destined to have a life in the water. You see, you couldn't keep him out of it, to the point where Juan and his brother Isaac would sneak over to a pool at Dorvik late at night. And this love of water continued as Juan became a young man, and eventually a lifeguard at the Chicago Park District. Even at a young age, Juan recognized that saving people was his destiny, his purpose. It would be at this time in his early career that Juan would meet a young firefighter named Ron Dornecker, who would later become Juan's boss in the CFD's dive unit. And after 3 years as a Chicago police officer, Juan joined the Chicago Fire Department in 2003 and became a valued member of the dive team in 2007. Juan's brother Isaac, who was also a member of Truck 16, was also a former Chicago police officer. And his sister Maria is currently a Chicago police officer. We at the CFD are just waiting for her to make the switch pretty soon. There is no hesitation. The Bucio family's core values are entrenched in public service, helping their fellow man. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is an honorable thing. He was a quiet man who, when he had something to say, he told it like it was, and people listened. Like all heroes, he was humble, a humble man who didn't seek the glare of attention. He put his head down, went to work, and was the illustration of excellence. And when you lose something that is excellent, it's painful. Juan was a leader who led by example. His fellow divers described him as a man who they aspired to be, not only as a diver, but as a man. As a diver, he was quiet, steady, and calm. He was the go-to guy, who was methodical in his approach to duty, who moved to the beat of his own drum. Juan was the fastest member of the dive team, always finishing first during training drills, but he was also disciplined and precise and would not rush when it came to certain things. And when things got done, it was accomplished on Juan's time, where it would take fellow divers a few minutes to do or finish a drill. Juan would take 3 minutes on purpose, and it would drive Chief Dornecker crazy. And that was Juan. Methodical, steady, proficient. All excellent traits that were rooted in his DNA. He was excellent. The day after Juan passed away, his fellow divers conducted training the very next day, and Juan would have wanted it no other way. Excellence. Dude, which was one of his favorite words. You gotta keep going. And we gotta keep going. One day at work, a co-worker was having a tough day, and Juan asked him, "Do you understand why this gets to you?" His co-worker replied, "Why?" "It's because you let it." Simple and to the point. Juan was a calming power for his team. But most of all, as well-liked and respected and accomplished a person Juan was, he was even greater father to his boys Joshua and Jacob. I'd like everyone to know that Juan never took a single overtime shift because it was more important to be with his sons than anything else in the world. And when Juan finished his regular shift, he quickly left the firehouse to pick up his sons and drop them off at school. There he would stand at the same spot every morning, day in and day out, and watch his sons make their way into school. Juan was a police officer, a firefighter, and a diver, a brother, friend, leader, and a rescuer. But at the end of the day, Juan's life always circled back to Joshua and Jacob. Every member of this department and their families hope to go home when their shift is done. But in the back of our minds, we contemplate the what-ifs. Despite this, Juan demonstrated that he was destined to help others to the very end. A few years ago, Juan took his sons fishing, and Jacob fell into the water. Juan dove right in after him and grabbed him. What this father did for his own child is the same thing he did for this great city. He wanted people to understand the important things in life. And during a discussion with a friend, Juan asked, "What is the most important thing in your life?" His friend replied, "My kids," and Juan quickly corrected him, saying that you are the most important thing in your life. Because if you're not well, you cannot be there for your kids. Society oftentimes takes men like Juan for granted, the quiet, deliberate man who shies away from attention. We tend to take these traits as a sign of weakness, but this man was strong of body, mind, and character. He was excellent. In one of his last social media posts, Juan made mention about the recent Avengers movie and the heroes that have now become so popular. Today, the world is looking at Juan as a real superhero who surpasses anything Hollywood could produce. Juan was a member of the last class I taught at the Chicago Fire Academy. I have faint memories of him, but I stand here today wishing I had the blessing of knowing him personally. He lost his life doing what he was destined to do. And if this dedicated public servant was with us today, Juan would give us one of his infamous shoulder shrugs and sayings, "Knock it off, stop with the baby tears. It was an honor for me to serve." Can the men of Air, Sea, Rescue please stand? Joshua and Jacob, I want you to know that your dad will always be watching over you as you make your way through life. Your dad was a good man who helped everyone. And even though he is no longer with us, these men standing here today will always be here when you need us. It is my prayer that God holds you, keeps you, Juan Bucio. And the family of Juan Bucio, may the memories of Juan bring you peace. Dios te bendiga. Thank you.